Orphaned by love, silenced by sorrow, and trapped under a cruel stepmother's shadow, she never imagined her broken beginning would lead to a destiny that could change everything. In the wind-swept village of Kanyoro, where the earth cracked, under the sun and every home whispered of hardship, lived a young woman named Amara. Only 21, her face carried the quiet weight of sorrow beyond her years. Ever since her mother's passing, life had unraveled painfully. Her father, once the village's most respected woodcarver, had become a bitter shadow of himself, drowning his grief in strong drink. And when he remarried the spiteful Madame Juma, Amara's world darkened further. To them, she was a burden. From the first light to deep dusk, Amara toiled, hauling firewood, planting millet, tending to the goats, cleaning their crumbling homestead, and often went to bed with an empty stomach. Only Lena, her little half-sister with innocent eyes and tangled braids, would sneak her cold yam or a whisper of kindness. The villagers pitied her but kept their distance. Her father's temper was like wildfire. No one dared cross him. One day, a stranger came to Kanyoro. His name was Kweku, a soft-spoken craftsman from the river towns. His clothes were patched, his sandals worn thin, but his hands were skilled, and his heart was steady. He worked for Amara's father, carving wood, repairing roofs, building grain stores. For months he labored under the promise of pay, yet the days turned to weeks, and the weeks to silence. Then one sweltering afternoon, Kweku approached, sweat-soaked and weary. "Baba, please," he said firmly. "3 moons of work. I need my pay." And every time, Baba waved him off. "Next week, when I sell the goats." But the goats were never sold. "Sir, I've come again. Please. My pay. My mother needs medicine. I must send something back home." Baba, Oho didn't look up. He sloshed the palm wine in his calabash, then let out a low chuckle, the kind that stung worse than a slap. "Pay? You think money grows in my yam field? All this talking. You want payment?" He smirked. "Take her." Kweku blinked, unsure he heard right. "She's lazy, stubborn, worthless. Take her to the city. Let that be your wage." Amara's father smirked dryly. Then his eyes slid to where Amara stood, who had just stepped out of the kitchen, sweat on her forehead, a woven tray in her hands. Amara froze. Her knees wobbled. The tray slipped from her grasp and clattered to the ground, breaking the silence like shattered glass. She rushed to his feet and knelt, gripping the hem of his wrapper, eyes wide with disbelief. "Papa, no, please. Please don't send me away. I'll do more. I'll work harder. I'll wake even earlier. I'll be better. Please. I'm your daughter." Her voice cracked as she pressed her forehead to the ground in front of him, tears mixing with the dust. She pleaded, tears already spilling. "Please, Baba, please." "This isn't love. This isn't justice. I'm your blood." But he barked at her to be silent. "Shut up. You will leave this house before sunset, or I will drag you out myself. You should be grateful anyone even wants you. You think you're a princess? Look at you, skin and bones, always sulking. Useless." Madame Juma, leaning in the doorway with a wicked smirk, folded her arms with satisfaction. "Let her go, Oho. Maybe someone else will teach her to shut that mouth. She's long overdue. For a husband or a master," Madame Juma sneered. "Good riddance, one less mouth." And then, in the thick silence, Kweku looked at her. Something in his eyes shifted. She was dirty, broken, shaking. But to him, in that moment, she was breathtaking. Under his breath, barely audible, he murmured, "She's beautiful." "What did you say?" Oho asked. "I will take her," Kweku replied quietly. Her life, tossed like trash, bartered like grain, and yet, she walked out with her head held just high enough. Something strange flickered in Kweku's eyes. Not lust, not pity, but something gentler, something she didn't recognize. Her eyes stung from hours of silent crying. Her heart ached, not only from being cast away, but from the final words her father hurled at her. "Don't come crawling back here, you shameless girl." No one embraced her. No one blessed her journey. Not even Madame Juma had offered a backward glance. Only her little half-sister, Lena, hid behind the granary, eyes wet, waving a trembling hand, silently mouthing, "Goodbye, sister. Don't forget me," as Amara walked to the borrowed old truck with Kweku. The road out of Kanyoro stretched endlessly before them, a ribbon of dust and memory. Amara sat quietly beside Kweku in the worn-down truck he had borrowed, her plastic garbage bag crinkling softly between her legs. It held all she owned: 2 threadbare dresses, a faded shawl that belonged to her mother, and an old, cracked Bible. Amara turned once, the only face she would miss, Lena's, the only soul who ever saw her. That memory burned the most. Each jolt of the journey to Ashaba seemed to rattle something loose in Amara's soul. The dusty, broken paths slowly gave way to smooth tar, humble trees fading into towering buildings that felt like giants watching her pass. As she stared out the window, silence wrapped around her like a fog. She had left behind the sting of rejection, the ache of old wounds, but also the only life she'd ever known. Her heart trembled with questions. Was Ashaba a new beginning, or just another kind of heartbreak dressed in promise? Silently she prayed, "Lord God, protect me. Don't let this man be like my father. Let this not be another cage." Kweku spoke little, but every now and then he looked at her, not with judgment, but a quiet concern. Eventually they arrived in Ashaba, a bustling city of markets and motion. He led her to a quiet corner of the city where flowers grew by the fences and birds chirped freely. They stopped at a small, neat dwelling behind a large compound. "This is where I stay," Kweku said with a soft smile. "I just got work as a night watchman. The woman who owns the compound gave me this little house. I can live here as long as I keep the place safe." The home was small, just a bedroom, a little living area, and a cooking corner. But to Amara, it was a palace. No broken roof, no shouted insults, just quiet. That night she curled up on the bed with clean sheets and wept, not from fear, but relief. The next morning she awoke to the smell of sizzling herbs. Kweku was in the kitchen, stirring a pot. "Morning," he said. "I made breakfast. Hope you slept well." She nodded, a little shy smile peeking through. "Like I was wrapped in clouds." That evening, after tidying their tiny kitchen, Amara sat reading a book, her heart heavy with memory. Kweku was repairing a hinge. "Kweku," she whispered. "Yes?" "I need to tell you something." He turned to face her. "When my father gave me away like old cloth, I felt empty, like I didn't matter. I feared you'd be cruel, that once we got here you'd hit me, starve me, yell at me." Tears welled in her eyes. "But you didn't. You gave me a bed. You gave me quiet. You gave me dignity." Kweku walked over slowly, knelt before her, and took her hand gently. That one moment, a seed planted, was the start of something unspoken. 2 days later, he asked her to wear something simple and follow him. He brought her to the main house. There, a graceful woman in her 50s opened the door. "This is Mama Alira," Kweku said. "And this," he added with quiet strength, "is my wife Amara." Mama Alira relied sternly. "You've brought a girl home, in this state, and you called her your wife?" Amara's heart skipped. "She had nowhere else to go, Mama. And yet you've made her your burden." Life in Mama Alira's compound was no sanctuary. The woman was harsh, her tongue sharper than cane. "If you came here for sympathy, you'll die thirsty. You work. No excuses. Or leave this compound. Chum." Every day, Amara scrubbed, fetched, cooked, chopped, and cleaned. Her hands blistered, her back bent. And in the shadows, Kweku watched from his doorway, his own mind twisted with conflict. He had not saved her out of charity, not out of desire. He just couldn't walk away. The following day, when Amara limped into the house later after, soaked and shivering, falling and hurting her knees, Mama Alira simply said, "Don't stain my floor with blood. You'll clean it if you do." Kweku heard. He rose from his corner and took a cloth, water, and salt. He knelt beside her. "This will sting." nodded. Tears fell, not from the pain in her knee, but the kindness in his voice, and in that silence, Amara whispered, "Why did you take me that day?" Kweku, pausing, "Because no one else saw your worth." "But I did." "Amara," he said, voice steady, "you are not worthless. You are not forgotten. You are like a wildflower, trampled, but still blooming. And am sorry that I lied to you, that I was a night watchman, a simply gate man." And in that moment, under the roof of a little house in a strange city, Amara smiled. Not because everything was perfect, but because she had found something more precious than gold. One afternoon, Amara stood by the river and made a vow. "They will not break me. They may not want me, but I want myself. That's enough." In the days that followed, Amara's quiet dignity began to stir unrest. Mama Elira's voice grew more venomous. She saw what Kweku could not hide, the way his gaze lingered on Amara, the way his voice softened when he said her name. "That girl is poison. She will divide this house and ruin your reputation, my sons." In the stillness of that evening, as they sat together at the dining table, Kweku looked at her and said softly, "You deserve more than this. One day I'll buy you a home of your own. You'll never have to beg again." And so the girl who once wept in the dust, the girl passed from hand to hand like a sack of grain, began slowly to rise. She was still bruised, still bearing scars, but she was no longer unseen. And somewhere between pain and hope, between obligation and the stirrings of something deeper, a new kind of love began to bloom. Not a fairy tale, not flawless, but real. When Amara heard those words, she began to work twice as hard, learned to sell goods in the market, took on extra chores, and saved every coin. She knew that her past would not define her future. But when night fell, Amara sat quietly outside, knees drawn to her chest, beneath a sky freckled with stars. The world was still, save for the soft rustle of wind through the trees. She tilted, her head to the heavens, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mama, I wish you were here." In the hush of that moment, a memory stirred. Her younger self nestled in her mother's lap, both of them beneath this same sky. Her mother's arms had once felt like the whole world, safe, warm, unshakable. The memory flickered like firelight in her mind, comforting and cutting all at once. Then one day, Mama Elira collapsed. Fever, weakness, breath shallow. Amara stayed. Day and night she fed her, washed her, cooled her fever. Mama Elira, weakly. "Why, after all I did to you? Why?" Amara, "Because I know what it means to be forgotten. I won't do that to anyone." She took Amara's hands in hers. "Forgive me. I see now. You were the blessing I tried to reject." Kweku stood tall beside Amara. "Let it be known, this woman, this once forgotten girl, is my wife, my equal, my heart." From ashes, Amara rose. From rejection, she found redemption. And from pain, love blossomed a month later. They drove to a quieter part of town called Nuru. Flowering hedges framed elegant homes and butterflies flitted across flowers. When they stopped, Amara blinked in disbelief. Before them stood a modern white mansion, 2 stories high, with wide windows and a silver car parked neatly in front. She covered her mouth. This isn't your place, is it?" Kweku smiled. "It is now." "What?" "I've been saving for years while working. This house, it's ours. And that car, it's yours if you learn to drive." Amara staggered back, her legs wobbling. "Kweku, I don't understand. Why me?" He turned to her and said gently, "Because I saw you. I saw your fire beneath all that dust. I saw someone the world tried to break but failed." Tears burst from her eyes, but these were not like the ones shed in Kanyoro. They were the kind that cleansed, the kind that cracked open something new. It was during the Harmattan winds that Amara noticed the signs: nausea in the morning, dizziness, an unfamiliar flutter in her belly. She stood frozen in the bathroom one morning, the test stick in her hand. 2 bold lines. "Kweku," she whispered, breath shaking. I also have something to tell you. We're going to have a baby. A child? He gasped. Are you sure? His reaction stunned her. She nodded, eyes sparkling. Overcome with joy, she laughed. Thank you, God. Kweku dropped to his knees, kissed her belly gently. Our baby, he whispered. You made me a dad. Thank you for giving me a family. Amara's eyes welled with tears. From being cast aside to becoming a queen. Weeks passed. Amara began to smile, making her house a home. Her hands, once raw from farm tools, learned how to stir sauces, bake bread, fold clothes gently, and even write again. Then, one morning as she sat in the sun trimming leaves on the balcony, a knock came at the gate. Kweku opened it, and Amara heard a familiar small voice call out, Amara? She ran out in disbelief. There stood Lena, thin, dusty, eyes wide with both hope and fear. In her hand, she clutched the old wooden doll Amara had carved for her years. Ego. Baba is dead, Lena said, her voice shaking. Madam Juma sent me away. I didn't know where else to go. I followed the man who brings vegetables from Ashaba. I prayed you'd be here. Amara fell to her knees and embraced her. You are home, Lena. You will never be cast out again. They took her in without hesitation. Lena began school that same month. Kweku bought her books and shoes, and every evening Amara read her stories as their laughter filled the once quiet home. That night, Amara lay in bed beside her husband. She felt the soft stirring of life in her womb, the soft hum of peace in her soul. For a girl once called worthless, left to rot in silence, this was redemption. She had not just survived, she had bloomed. The months swept by like golden petals in the wind. Amara's belly swelled with new life, her heart with even greater purpose. The walls of their home, once quiet, now echoed with laughter. Lena's new friends came over often, and Amara baked bread with them on weekends while telling stories of courage. But peace has a way of being tested. One humid afternoon, a shadow fell on their compound gate. There's a woman outside, the security man told Amara. Says she's your mother. Amara's chest clenched. She stood frozen for a moment, then stepped out. There, cloaked in dust and arrogance, stood Madame Juma. But this time her headscarf was torn, her shoes worn. Her eyes held something Amara had never seen in them before. Desperation. Amara, she croaked, my shop burned down. Your father is dead and his land was sold. I have nowhere else to go. Amara's breath caught. Lena peeked from the kitchen door, her face stiffening in fear. Madame Juma's eyes flickered to Kweku's car, to the big home, and then lowered, with a bitter kind of awe. You live like a queen now, she muttered. Amara approached her. For a moment, all the years of pain threatened to rise, being treated like dirt, starved, silenced, thrown away. Part of her wanted to send her back. Another part, the healed part, wanted closure. She listened while Mama Juma confessed. I'm sorry, I've lived long enough to see my cruelty for what it was. I was bitter, and you paid the price. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I beg for it anyway. Tears welled up, not from pain, but from the strange sorrow of realizing her stepmother was just a broken woman too. Amara didn't reply with anger. Instead, she spoke with gentleness, yet firm. I forgive you, and I pray you find peace like I did. But then Amara saw not just the woman who hurt her. She saw a woman who had never known love enough to give it. That night, Amara knelt beside the bed and prayed. Her hand resting on her belly, God, I know you've brought me far, but help me to heal, not just survive, but truly live. Thank you for turning my ashes into beauty. Let the scars remind me of your rescue, not of my pain. A deep peace settled over her, the kind she had never known. She didn't need her stepmother's apology. She didn't need to be validated by those who failed her. She was whole, because God said so. 8 months later, their child was born. The rain came, down in sheets. Thunder cracked across the sky. But inside the delivery room, A cry broke through, louder than any storm. "It's a girl," the nurse said. Amara's hands trembled as she held her newborn. "Her name," she whispered, "will be Nia. It means purpose, because she came from pain, but she was born for purpose." Years later, in the vibrant town of Nuru, Amara founded a small ministry for young girls who, like her, had been bruised by life but refused to be broken. As the ministry flourished and her story echoed through classrooms and television screens, her most powerful moment unfolded in silence, during a sewing class for girls who knew pain too well. One trembling teen, Zena, fumbled with a needle and whispered, "I'm not good at anything." Amara knelt beside her, gently guiding her hands, and said, "I used to believe that too. But I've learned something powerful. Broken threads can still weave masterpieces." When Zena looked up with tearful hope, Amara smiled and whispered, "I'm not telling you a story. I'm living proof." Moral of the story: even when the world discards you, God sees your worth. What others throw away, He redeems. Sometimes deliverance comes not with trumpets, but through the quiet hands of a stranger who chooses to care. Amara and Kweku's journey is a powerful reminder that even in the face of rejection and cruelty, resilience, unexpected kindness, and quiet redemption can write a new story. Bible reference: Psalm 27:10, NIV. "Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me." This verse echoes Amara's journey perfectly. Rejected and betrayed by those who should have protected her, she is gently restored, not just by Kweku's actions but through the unfolding of grace that defies her past. What lessons did this powerful tale leave you with? We'd love to hear your reflections in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to give it a like. Give it thumbs up, share it with someone who needs hope today, and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next soul-stirring chapter. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay inspired, stay strong, and stay blessed.